Today, I want to talk about a topic which goes hand in hand with all things dating, intimacy, meeting people, relationships. It goes hand in hand with all these things, and that is rejection. Okay. And in today's video, I'm not going to be talking about what to do when you're rejected, but I'm going to be talking about how to reject other people because within the lifestyle, rejecting people, it is part and parcel, but it's one thing which a lot of people they do struggle with. They either struggle to do it at all or they struggle to do it diplomatically. And also, it is a worry for a lot of people when they're meeting other couples in clubs. How do they reject them? Or, how do they reject them? Or how do they say no? Without kind of coming across wrong. And also, for a lot of people, they worry that they're going to get talked into doing something that they don't want to do. So, today's video is all about how to reject swingers. My name is Rosie Kay, and I'm an open relationship coach and swinger lifestyle expert. And over on my blog site, ThisKindaGirl.co.uk, I aim to educate, inspire, and tell people and share with people who swingers really are. So let's get down to it. Let's talk about rejection. Okay, so in all relationships, whether exclusive, non-monogamous, however you choose to practice your non-monogamy, we all face rejection. And unfortunately, being turned down, overlooked, or ghosted, it is part and parcel of dating life. Sadly, these things happen, but the only thing you can do is brush them aside and continuously moving forward with a positive mindset, which is far easier said than done, and we all know this. Being rejected and being the rejectee are both uncomfortable situations, and having to turn people down is never straightforward. And if you are a British person like myself, you will know that sometimes we pussyfoot around and we get really worried about how we're going to come across, and we get really wound up about kind of being overly polite about these things. I think that might be one reason why we struggle. I'm just putting that out there. Okay. Now, if you're a couple and you have to reject another couple, or you're a single person and you have to reject a couple, it's really lousy. But after this video, I hope you will understand the importance of it, and also you'll get a few top tips on how to do it a little bit easier. So, if you have to reject people, one of the most important things to do is to state your boundaries and to stick to them. Honesty is always the best policy. And sometimes by communicating your boundaries and your comfort levels, you will come across as confident. Which unfortunately is quite an attractive trait when people are confident, which might make people want you more. But also, stating your boundaries and your comfort levels is a really good practice to do. And it also does boost your confidence, and it does get you kind of used to having those conversations with people. Don't be tempted to compromise on your limits out of fear of rejection. I think this is something which we all do, regardless of your relationship type. We all worry about kind of saying things, or we all kind of have this thing of like, oh, it doesn't really matter as long as this other person thinks this is great about me, or I don't mind putting that in the, I don't mind doing that. No, like if it's important to you and if it's a rule and boundary to you, then that's what you need to say. Don't be afraid of them, rejecting you or not getting it. That's what's important to you, and you are the most important person on your journey. So disregard what it is they think or they want, because you're the one who's going to be having the experience. Stick to what you like and be true to yourself. If others don't get it, that's fine. It just means that they're not right for you. We're all scared of being judged and being rejected by other people when we don't fall into their ideal categories. But it's not them who have to have the experience. And speaking from experience, I've done this, and I think so many people have done this and they know what I'm talking about. But like saying you're okay with something when actually you're not, just because you don't want to be rejected by somebody or just because you like somebody, that's not the right answer. We can all compromise from time to time. Sometimes we do have to compromise within our relationships. but not expressing your real desires due to fear of rejection, or saying you're okay with things and going along with things, it's only going to have a negative impact, essentially. So number two, when you're having to reject people, is never shame other swingers, okay? If you have to reject other swingers, or if you have to, turn them down, then don't shame them or impart any blame. Swinging and talking about swinging and opening up to other people, opening up to strangers about what it is you want and what you enjoy, it is really difficult. This coupled with the fact that once you've put that out there and you've said what it is you want to enjoy, you can't always take that back. Um, and it could mean that you face judgment from others. And yes, you'll face judgment, but if you're the person who kind of hears these things from somebody, don't respond in an overly negative way. Something may not be your thing. It may not be what it is you want to enjoy, but you shouldn't shame other people for that. You may not mean to, but saying things like, "Oh, you like to do what?" or "Oh, we'd never do that." And these are things that I've heard in clubs. These are things I've heard from couples, and sometimes they don't mean for it to come across in this way, but it's a really vulnerable thing to do, to open up and say, "Actually, we like X, Y, and Z," or "I like X, Y, and Z." So show people a little bit compassion. It may not be your thing, but think about how you're going to respond before you respond to it. Criticizing others for their appearance, their sexuality, their desires, their fetishes, their kinks. It's another no-no. If you're in a club and you're approached by a couple who you don't find attractive, it's fine. Chat to them, talk to them, enjoy the experience, and listen to what they've got to say and enjoy the interaction. But all you have to say is, "I'm not looking to play. I'm not looking to do anything intimate. I'm not feeling it. But it's been lovely to meet you." You haven't got to go into details of, "Oh, well, the reason is because of this, this, and this," or "I don't find you attractive," or "I only like these traits in people," whatever it is. The reason I say this is because I've overheard conversations from couples saying, "It's all right chatting to you, but we only play with smaller women." It's like, if that's the case, that's fine, but you haven't got to verbalize that. You haven't got to put that out there. You haven't got to say, "Oh, we only like this type of person." That's rude. What you can say instead is, "We're not looking to play." That's what you have to say. You haven't got to be rude about it. Body shaming or sex shaming or kink shaming has no place at any type of party, any type of event, especially not a swingers event. And if you're not comfortable seeing other people naked, or you only have a certain type of person who you like to see naked, then let me tell you now, a swingers party is not the place for you, because it ain't up to you who you get to see naked. All right, that's not how it works. Number three, be honest with your answer. Sometimes to avoid, well, be honest, but not too honest. Be honest with your answer, but sometimes to avoid offending others, we skirt around the truth and we leave them feeling unsure of where they stand. And the reason I talk about this is because sometimes when you meet people online, on one of the websites, you chat to them, and perhaps you go on a date with them, or perhaps you spend time chatting, but things aren't quite, panning out how you want them. Maybe they're more invested in you than you are in them, or maybe they're not quite ticking your boxes, but you're not sure how to tell them. So you kind of skirt around the issue and you say, "We don't feel ready to play yet," or "We're not sure about playing," which leaves the other person on the receiving end of that thinking, "Well, if not now, then when?" Because as far as I'm concerned, this conversation is, going quite well and you keep chatting to us. But whenever we put it out there that we'd like to meet with you guys, or we'd like to do something a little bit more, we get, we kind of get brushed off, but we don't get told no, we get told maybe. If it's a no, then tell them it's a no, instead of telling them maybe, which leads people to be more frustrated and also people to be unsure of your intention. If a couple are thinking, "Well, not now, not ever," then if you're a couple and you're thinking "not now, not ever," then tell people, just say, "Look, we've enjoyed chatting with you, but we don't think you're right. We don't think don't think you're right for us. Instead of kind of skirting around, and not getting down to the point, which is really ironic because that's why I feel that little segment just went there. Um, but you know what it is I mean. You don't have to be rude about it, but don't leave people hanging. If you're not feeling it, if you're not wanting to pursue something with them, then just tell them, okay? And also in a club, if you're not feeling a connection with them, again, instead of kind of palming them off with, oh, well, maybe we'll, maybe this, and or maybe we'll, like, if you're not feeling it, tell them, because they're only going to waste their time and you're only going to waste your time kind of circling around that conversation. Okay. Uh, if you're in number 4, offer a suggestion. So perhaps you're in a club, you're at a social, you're in an environment where you don't feel ready to play, or you don't feel ready to be intimate, or you don't feel comfortable in that environment, but you don't want to reject people. So instead, you can offer a suggestion. Now, this is something which I use myself quite a bit. Sometimes I don't feel comfortable playing in clubs. This is because people within the scene, they know who I am, they know what I do, and they come up and they approach me. And I don't always feel comfortable playing in clubs where people recognize me. Okay. So sometimes if I am chatting to a couple or something, and I get on well with them, I say, look, I'm not going to do anything right now tonight, but why don't we meet up at a later date in private? And that's another technique which you can use. So if you don't feel comfortable playing in a more public setting, or perhaps you're not ready to do that yet, you don't have to reject people. You can say, look, why don't we exchange details? And we can meet up at another time in a bit more of a private setting. And the last one I want to talk about is you don't need to apologize. Sometimes, and again, I think this comes down to being British, but we apologize when we don't find people attractive, or we apologize for how we are. We say, oh, oh, it's just me. I'm into X, Y, and Z, and I'm sorry I'm a bit much. Don't apologize for being a bit much, or don't apologize because you don't find other people attractive. This is something we all do, and it's something which I do all the time. Okay, I apologize and say, oh, it's just me. I'm a dominant woman, and oh, I'm sorry. Like, no, dominant women don't do that. That's an ironic thing, isn't it? But you can't help it. It's kind of ingrained into you. And apologizing and not kind of wanting to take things further, it can leave you feeling quite guilty. And I always try and be as diplomatic as possible to minimize people's feelings. It's not your fault that you don't wish to connect with them further, but you shouldn't feel bad. And it is far easier said than done. But essentially, you like what you like, you're into what you're into, and you shouldn't force yourself to feel a certain way. I think as long as you are diplomatic and you're polite, and you're nice about it and you're positive about it, then you don't need to apologize for not feeling it. So I hope you've enjoyed my video on how to reject swingers. It is an important part of the process. And it is a part of the lifestyle which we all have to face. My next video is going to be all about how not to take rejection too personally. Again, it's going to be another video which is far easier said than done, but it's definitely one which I want to talk about. If you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you have, do please hit the like and subscribe. If you want to read more about this topic and you want to read my 20, what is it I put here? 20 ways to reject swingers and respond to rejection. Also, I do have a blog article all about it. I'll put the link in the description for this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.